But I just wanna feel good every day. I wanna wear a smile upon my face. I wanna feel the joys of the day. I wanna feel alive in every moment. Sing it loud and proud.
And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete.
To many people, the entire African continent remains one land of dangerous mystery and poverty.
Adventurous missionaries, ivory traders, and elephant hunters have used this town as a jumping-off place many times before us. The entire expedition is loaded onto the steamship which will carry us up the Niger and into the heart of the Dark Continent. Then we will begin our great trek across equatorial Africa, where man is the prey of animals and animals the prey of man. Africa the unknown.
Most images of Africa contribute to a belief that Africa is one undifferentiated land of primitive people in need.
You get a picture, from Hollywood and the movies, and every time you see us on CNN and stuff like that, there's always something negative.
You find a lot of ignorance when you read the media. I'm in New York, or you go to London, or in any other place.
My American roommate was shocked by me. She asked where I had learned to speak English so well and was confused when I said that Nigeria happened to have English as its official language.
I felt like they question our intelligence. They wonder if we're as educated, or we can speak English properly, or we have resources, or if we have cars and technology and roads and proper houses.
She asked if she could listen to what she called my tribal music, and was consequently very disappointed when I produced my tape of Mariah Carey.
All you see is negative news that are being reported in, Western media.
So that is how to create a single story. Show a people as one thing, as only one thing, over and over again, and that is what they become. Stories matter. Many stories matter. Stories have been used to dispossess and to malign. But stories can also be used to empower and to humanize. Stories can break the dignity of a people, but stories can also repair that broken dignity. Of course, Africa is a continent full of catastrophes, but there are other stories that are not about catastrophe. It is just as important to talk about them.
My name is Warren. I was born and raised in South Africa. I'm a choreographer. My dad took me to my first ballet class on Friday, and it was myself and 22 girls. Best day of my life. My mother said she gave birth to 2 straight boys who did classical ballet. If she had a daughter, she'd probably play rugby. I currently reside in New York City. I left because I had this wonderful opportunity. I had just been awarded a scholarship to study in London, England. It came about directly because of President Nelson Mandela. Some of my career highlights. I'm the choreographer for the upcoming Broadway show, Motown. A play that I did off Broadway called Orinoco. It's Toy Story the musical. I worked on Disney. The stereotypes Americans have of Africa seem to all fall into one category that has to do with tragedy. There's a perception that Africa doesn't, that we don't have planes, trains, automobiles, that we don't have structure. There's this one-sided story of there are animals roaming freely. The day-to-day life of the African. At my house, Saturday mornings was about you wake up, you had breakfast with your family, and then my brother and I had to clean the yard.
My sister and I, we would wash clothes, wash our uniforms, and all that kind of stuff. You cannot watch Sesame Street until you finish your chores.
Was a Speed Racer and all those cartoons.
And then we wake up in the morning, have moi moi and Ogie.
Yeah, we had 10 dogs at one point.
We always had 2 dogs, and they always had the same name. And it's really funny because we had Scooby first, which we named from Scooby the cartoon, and then we had Jackie.
We had 4 canaries, and unfortunately, they all died.
Canaries? We didn't have any animals that we could not cook.
One of the best ways to understand Africans is to just listen to them.
Great people, happy people, opinionated, aggressive about, success. We laugh loud, we're lovers, we're givers, we're very hospitable. We're African. Nigerians are African in every sense of the word.
Fun, crazy, smart.
Credit card fraud. Which Nigerian boys do you know? Let me stay away from them. The ones on TV. Where's my credit card, by the way? The best.
Sexy.
Well, hold on. Yeah, that. Well.
My motherland, I miss it. Love it. Fun times, but they need to sort themselves out.
On a daily basis, I encounter people that are shocked by the fact that I'm an African. They almost don't believe me. They're like, "You're really African?" And I say, "Yes, I'm really and they go, from Africa, for real, from Africa?" And I'm like, "Yeah, from Africa, for real, from Africa." There is a whole other side to Africa that people don't know about, particularly when it comes to innovation. In Kenya, I think we're seeing, a renaissance of technology.
In the United States, Silicon Valley is the home of technology. In Africa, we call that place Kenya. Transferring money from one cell phone to another started in Kenya well before the idea got to the United States or Europe.
Customers transfer money electronically using their mobile phone, and the agent converts it into Kenya shillings.
I don't have to travel from here to Murang'a to take money to my parents. I can just send it from here. And within seconds, the cash is in their phones, and they are going to withdraw it and enjoy themselves.
Ushahidi, the Swahili word for witness, is a software application that uses citizen participation via texting from cell phones to prioritize decision-making in crisis situations. It helps decision makers know where the greatest concentrations of people are and who are concerned with a given issue. It was developed in Kenya and has been adopted in Washington, D.C., Japan, Australia, Haiti, India, and beyond.
I think what Ushahidi does is it allows people to participate. Instead of one organization saying that here's what happened, I think this is an opportunity for everyone to create the narrative, making it many to many instead of one to many.
When the post-election violence broke out in Kenya, I had been covering the election quite a bit on my blog. And in that process, the disconnect between what I was hearing from my sources and what was happening in the media was very wide. And so I posted the idea of what then became Ushahidi onto my blog. And then Eric got in touch.
That was home for me. Kenya's always been home for me. And it's where my network runs deepest on the continent.
Ushahidi became successful because we had the support of the Kenyan bloggers. We ended up with more than 131 unique IP addresses submitting information into the mashup of a 3-month period.
And so that was Ushahidi saying, okay, here is a very simple rudimentary application that allows us to get reports from ordinary people saying what's going on around.
New technologies are also transforming lives in rural communities, where they are being put to unusual and very practical uses. iCow helps small dairy farmers improve the productivity of their cows.
Cow calendar, which is conventionally a card, 2 discs that sit on a card. When your cow is served or impregnated, you line up certain things on the disc and it'll tell you when you need to do a pregnancy diagnostic test, when you need to stop milking her. So, well, we can digitize that into a telephone system so that farmers who don't have access to this, we can actually send them information.
Today, there are about 1 billion people in Africa, and 15%, nearly 140 million, are on the internet. There are about 40 million Africans on Facebook alone.
The internet is, the changes are just, they're everywhere. who could be listening to your music. You know, we've seen videos of people from, you know, Greece singing Nigerian songs, doing like covers of Nigerian songs. You know, I saw a video of some Middle Eastern girls doing a dance to one of my songs. But also, it means that when I put out a song, you know, I can have it get to somebody in the States instantly.
One of the most powerful uses of the internet has been in North Africa, where social media played a key role in organizing protesters who brought about changes in leadership in Tunisia, Egypt, and Libya. If social media can force out leaders of nations, with your help, surely social media can be used to move past the single story of Africa. Artists have always been some of the best storytellers. We got a chance to sit down with award-winning musician Lyra.
Media was feeding me the thought that I was a charity case, or, you know, oh, poor Africa. That was what media was feeding to me as an African child. So it gave me the perspective that, well, hang on, you're telling me I'm destined to be like that all my life? And I couldn't make peace with that. That was like very bizarre. You're telling me I'm born to be at a certain level and I can't even fathom anything larger. I mean, I remember as a teenager I was just incredibly frustrated with just that reality, and I just thought there has to be something more. And the first thing, or the first level of power that I felt I had, besides the education, was deciding who I wanted to become, exercising the freedom of imagining what was possible. And it was incredible how I felt like life itself responded to that. You know, suddenly there were just doors opening up to me, so I wasn't limited after all. You know, that was somebody else's idea, not mine.
I was fortunate to get to the audition in Johannesburg, and I was one of the first group of South Africans to go to England on the scholarship. Education has taken a major pivot, I'd say, on the continent. Africans are no longer waiting for, you know, people to come from another country, be it the United States or Europe, to come and bring education to us. The people on the ground are the ones that are creating these opportunities. They are starting their own schools. They are starting their own way of thinking. It's out-of-box thinking.
Asheshe University is a private new university founded by former Microsoft executive Patrick Awuah.
We're looking at a very human level, impacting individual lives. We're also looking at impacting a whole society by fundamentally rewriting how leaders are educated in Africa. So we're looking to a model of education that is developing analytical thinking, that is most importantly developing deep compassion for society. And we think that that's a fundamental part of turning Africa around and really enabling Africa to flourish.
We support all the schools in Kibera through music and arts enrichment programs, as well as a computer literacy program by improving the educational opportunities for all young people in Kibera and try to break the cycle of poverty they've been born into by giving them a quality education. My name is Ken Okoth, and I'm the founder and the executive director of Children of Kibera Foundation.
The student sponsorship program opens the doors of South Africa's previously all-white private schools to black students and supports them with scholarships and mentors.
Anything that shows outstanding qualities is excellence.
It's become well known. The name SSP throughout South Africa really means getting an opportunity. And so we have between 3,000 and 5,000 applicants for the 50 to 100 scholarships that we might award in a given year.
My mentor is Lindelo Zwane, and she's a phenomenal woman. She's strong, she's motivated, she's hardworking, and she's the kind of role model that every young girl needs.
My role is very small, but a big part of the organization. It means being a role model to her, being a sister, a mother, a teacher, and I think best of all is also being a friend.
Smart, hardworking, and deeply motivated, scholars emerging from these programs are becoming the leaders in all realms of life, from government, business, science, and the arts.
I grew up in an area called Galvindale. It had a wide range of, I said if you were going to say class of people, from school teachers to extremely unemployed poor people to some very extremely successful doctors and lawyers. I don't think that people in the West think of Africa as a place where business can be profitable. African businesses are making money, and they're making money for themselves. These businesses are affecting communities, and those communities are benefiting from a lot of these businesses.
Nigeria's telecoms market is the second fastest growing in the world after China. We are getting investments of about $1 billion a year in telecoms, and nobody knows, except a few smart people.
And running a business which is significantly large. Safiga is a 3 billion rand business. Give or take, it's a $400 million business. We employ 2,000 people. And in terms of South Africa's kind of demographic and how things work, every worker supports, 2-3 people. So effectively we feed, 6,000 people. So it's 2,000 employees of Safiga. Times 3, we feed 6,000 people.
I currently lead in Ethiopia, the first Ethiopia Commodity Exchange, or ECX. I am here to tell you that change is in the air. Africa today is not the Africa waiting for aid solutions, and one thing is clear, which is, at least now we know, that Africa is open for business, and that business is agriculture.
He started creating the Dangote empire straight out of college. Today he's the largest producer of cement in Nigeria. His empire includes production of sugar, rice, pasta, and diesel, all things that people just can't live without. Through pure determination and hard work, Aliko Dangote is now placed number 51 on Forbes and is considered the richest man in Africa.
So if I want to be the next Dangote of Africa, what advice would you give me? What do I need to do to become you?
That's a very, very tough one. Maybe I might have to charge you.
Businessman. Lesson number 1.
No, I mean, to be serious, if you want to be the next Dangote, is that you have to take quite a lot of risk, calculated risk. Nothing is impossible. Once you say that, yes, nothing is impossible, it means that you can actually achieve that target. I think I work at least 18 hours a day.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, I do. I do. But hard work is key.
When I'm done with Harvard, I think coming back to Africa is a fantastic approach. I don't know if I'll come straight back to Zimbabwe because that's somewhere that I already have roots. And I think the future of Africa is Pan-African. So I'd like to try out a few other countries before I head home. I'm coming home because Africa's the future, and I feel like I have a lot to offer. And places like Australia, England, the US, they've got talent there, but Africa needs people to come home so that we can grow this continent.
In order for Africa to reap the benefits of its vast reservoir of human talent, it is imperative that members of the African diaspora from around the world return home. As more opportunities develop in Africa, more and more Africans are returning home. This is part of what is driving Africa's current surge in growth.
There are so many things that are happening that are positive. You look at Botswana, you look at Nigeria, you look at Kenya, you look at Tanzania, you look at Mozambique, you look at Angola. Most of those countries I've just referred to, they're all reporting positive economic growth that surpasses growth in the rest of the West.
Recently, my brother got married and we picked up our parents at the airport. And whenever we do that normally, there's this sense of excitement, and we hadn't seen them in a year. This time around, it was still great to see them, but that sense of excitement wasn't there, simply because having the ability to Skype makes it feel like we actually have them in our room right there every day. What we have to do is to really speak of the successes of of the stories that we've seen happening within governments on the African continent. Communication-wise, yeah, it's definitely improved. As we know, there's corruption in the West, there's corruption in the United States, but major steps have been taken to improve governments in North, East, West, and South Africa.
People in Africa are no longer willing to tolerate corruption from their leaders. And therefore, when you hear about the corrupt Africa, corruption all the time, I want you to know that the people and the governments are trying hard to fight this in some of the countries, and that some successes are emerging. Does it mean the problem is over? The answer is no. There's still a long way to go, but that there's a will there, and that successes are being chalked up.
Mo Ibrahim has used a portion of his wealth to address corruption by creating powerful incentives for Africa's presidents to govern with integrity and democratic principles, and to purge their countries of corruption.
What is governance? It's a basket of public goods citizens expect from their countries.
All these are elements of the good governance. Besides security, there's economic opportunities, there's transparency, there's democracy, there's human rights, education, health. We go out and measure like 70 parameters. That's a scorecard for each country in Africa. This is the index. Our foundation cornerstone project is not the prize, it is the index. And that index will be published every year. Based on that index then, who is the president managed to move the index of his government further than anybody else. So $700,000 per year for 10 years. After that, we expect them to retire and we pay them $200,000 for life. A means of enabling good ex-presidents to continue engaging with civil society after retirement, to have life after office.
The Cheetah generation is a new breed of Africans who brook no nonsense about corruption. They understand what accountability and democracy is. They're not going to wait for government to do things for them. And Africa's salvation rests on the backs of these cheetahs. In contrast, of course, we have the Hippo generation. The Hippo generation are the ruling elites. They are stuck in their intellectual patch, complaining about colonialism and imperialism. They wouldn't move one foot. You ask them to reform the economies, they're not going to reform it because they benefit from the rotten status quo.
Successful Nigerian business mogul Tony Elumelu founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which has partnered with the former British Prime Minister Tony Blair's foundation to create a fellowship program. This innovative partnership, funded by an African business leader, helps African governments develop their private sectors. The program started in Sierra Leone and will soon expand to other countries.
Definitely something happening in Africa where there's this, not just this belief that we can, but we're actually seeing success stories happening right in front of our eyes. Africa's future is bright.
We must start from the simple premise that Africa's future is up to Africans.
Many of the influential Africans who are leading the path towards Africa's development have made a commitment to economic self-reliance.
I have never heard of a country that developed on aid. If you know of one, just let me know. I know about countries that developed on trade and innovation and business. I don't know of any country that got so much aid and they suddenly became a first world country. I've never heard of such a country. So the track is wrong. That track ends to nowhere. It leads to nowhere. Only Africans can develop Africa.
We are tired of being the subject of everybody's charity and care. We are grateful. But we know that we can take charge of our own destinies if we have the will to reform. And what is happening in many African countries now is a realization that no one can do it but us.
The African Leadership Network is a community of the most influential leaders of this new generation in Africa.
Good morning. Thanks for being here this morning. What we wanted to do today is start a bit with just talk about how we envision ALN.
I wish and I hope that it is not your prayer to simply get to the top of the world. I hope that your prayer and your ambition is to change the world and to be on top of that changed world.
You invest in your people, you invest in your education, you guarantee the rest.
With the next generation that will take Africa to where it needs to go. And that generation, today, they're in universities, they're 20 years old, they're coming out, they're the ones that will lead us and take us exactly where we want to go.
Make no mistakes. The way all of us in this room are remembered is by whether or not we are able to create prosperity for the average African citizen.
You never be respected as an African until Africa has done well as a continent.
I don't know of any country in the world where a bunch of foreigners came and developed the country. I don't know who, Japan, Korea? No. I don't know where that formula is coming from. There's no precedent. We have to sink or swim ourselves.
I would like to end with this thought, that when we reject the single story, when we realize that there is never a single story about any place, we regain a kind of paradise.
Let's go.
Africa's future is bright. It has immense resources, both human and natural. So how can you help us? Well, by using social media, new media, old media, word of mouth, carrier pigeon, and any other means you can think of to help Africa Straight Up be seen by as many people as possible. Because, as you've seen, Africa is not just one story. If you have a story about Africa, whether you're African or not African, come to Africa.com and share it with us.
For the street for the zanga. The return of the microphone handler came back to set a new standard. More bread, more butter, more plata, more Fanta, no cook, no ganja. So gifted that he must know Santa, no slander. Let him hail his reign, more banter. Them a wonder, them a panda. How a short black boy came conquer. From a leg of his Benz to a Honda, to a crib from the bridge he was under. Did he do Yahoo? Did he lander? Now chicks follow bumper to bumper. See awards everywhere in the bunker. There's a track on that boss Willy Wonka. Yeah. Won't you marry me there? Well, tell your mommy, tell your daddy, tell your mother too. And if you want me, baby, let me know because I do. I would like to take you for a ride. I'll be your Superman, I'll take you to the sky. Someone, break our hearts in me, 'cause I'll be yo, back with my new flows. For the club, for the street, for the studios. In my new crib, new car, new clothes. Same actor, different year, new boss. I'm a bad guy who knows sharp guys, who know fly guys, who pop nouveau. And the champagne do flow anytime we celebrate, cause we generate new dough. And we off to conquer a new coast. Anywhere the game has got.
Africa Straight Up, brought to you by Africa.com.